Hello, this is Dave and welcome to Moonride. I'm going to channel Martin Luther King. We've already channeled one politician, it was Abraham Lincoln, and I just want to know what his advice is for us right now in this particular point. It does seem like America's in the middle of a crisis, not totally dissimilar from the one that we experienced while he lived, right? So let's ask Mr. King, Martin Luther King. Let's ask Martin Luther King what he says. Okay. Very respectful. This guy is very respectful to me. There's just a way, like, as he's meeting me, that I just feel very much like he's honestly looking at me. He's just treating me as a person. Okay. The message is, I don't care what skin color you are. He's shaking my hand. How very nice of him. Yeah. So, Mr. King, what advice do you have for us right now? We're in the middle of a social crisis. He is shaking his head and he's like, yeah, yep. He's like, I was there. He's like, in some ways, and this is different, but in some ways it's very, very similar. It involves racism. It involves power. It involves all these things. Okay, what should we do now? We're very worried in America right now. Okay. He's showing me a moon, and I think the moon is kind of ironic. This is Moonride, but he's also showing this moon, and it's sort of like giving me the feeling that, okay, I'm seeing 3 moons and like a half moon. I don't know if this is 3 months or 1 month or something, but things are going to get a lot better. So he's just showing me, like, look, it will get better, and it just seems fairly soon. I think it's going to be sooner than we expect that things go back to normal and that Trump leaves. Is that what you mean? Do you mean that Trump's going to leave? Ha! Okay, it's funny because there's a king with a crown, and he's stepping off his throne, and MLK is showing him the door. He's actually giving him quite a shove through the door with his foot. And he says, that's how you handle a despot. That's how you handle these guys. And he's like, hey, man, compared to the people that I had to fight against, this guy's nothing. He's like, the people I fought against were really smart. They were actually smart, and they had a lot of power, and they had the police right under their thumb. And sometimes they were the police. But he says, Trump, he's difficult for different reasons, but as a person, he's no comparison. He's just nowhere near the intellectual capacity or spiritual capacity, if you will, of a Martin Luther King. What should we do? Protest? Yeah. How? Anything else that we need to do when we protest? Be peaceful. Be careful. There will be shooters. You need to be very careful of this. Take time to have somebody stand back and just watch the skyline, because it's like there will be dangerous times, and I keep seeing a kind of a triangle. But it's streets. Now I have seen this before. There's some kind of like a square, and there's a statue in it, and there's a shooter, and he's just saying, look out, wait, beware of this guy. Is it a man? That I'm seeing, is the shooter a man? And I'm getting that the shooter's a man, and he actually kind of has olive skin and dark hair. Okay, I don't want to just freak everybody out here. What's the deal with the man? He's saying there's a way to get this guy. If people are aware, that they'll stop him. If people look around and they contact their police and they're on good terms with the police, they will stop this guy, because this guy is out there really to make it worse. I get the feeling he's not even pro-Trump. He's just there to create chaos, and he'll create more fighting between the two parties, and he's there to create chaos. Is this a literal figure? And he's like kind of literal. So don't be surprised if this does not come through. This is sort of Often when I'm doing this, it's both true and not true. So we might literally get this figure that does this. But at the same time, that figure is also symbolic of what's going on right now. That there's a third party that is trying to intrude into our world. And I think the reason that I'm seeing this person in this particular way is just that they have a feeling of outsider, right? And I don't mean to state that as the color of his skin or hair or anything. It's just he has a feeling, like a kind of feeling of outsider. He's not American, therefore he's just there to create problems with us. I was like, don't be surprised if this guy shows up and he's your real enemy. Anything else we need to know, Mr. King? He's just like, just be patient, work diligently, but be patient. This will change. We will emerge from this really, really well. But you got to give it a little time. It won't happen overnight. It's going to take work. He regrets having been unfaithful. So he's kind of saying, look, be faithful, right? Be faithful to your spouse. Be faithful to the person that you're with, right? And in a sense, that's almost like be faithful to your nation, be faithful to your ideas, be faithful to peaceful protest. He says also it's really interesting that this is a way for people of different races, skin colors, religions to unite. So we keep seeing this as a very divided thing, but in a way, it's actually uniting us. So you're going to go to a protest, and you may not necessarily agree with everything Black Lives Matter stands for, but you two do stand together for justice, and that person's learning from you and you're learning from them. You might both go and protest about the kids at the border. You're bringing in all of these different groups together and working towards a goal. So it says, look, it's not all bad. You need to understand that it's actually something that's very important. America needs to come together again. And that means you. That's every individual who goes to protest there. So when you do go there, try to make some endeavors to go meet the various groups and talk to them and say, okay, how can we work together? Maybe we don't agree about everything, but I can respect your opinion, you can respect my opinion, and we have the same goal. So call me on Saturday because I'm going to another protest. It will be about this particular topic, and I'd like you to speak and you to speak and you to speak and you to speak, so that when you go and you're speaking before this crowd of protest, you have a representative from all these different cultures who are uniting. America needs to do this. They must see themselves in this way. They must come together in this way, or it's not going to work. We will not be a nation of free people unless we can come together and fight for freedom, regardless of the fact that we don't necessarily agree about everything, or we don't have the same cultural background, or we don't have the same skin color. He's like, I want you to go there and cross a little bit of a boundary of your own. Maybe you don't agree with such a person. Maybe you've never talked to a DACA kid. Maybe you've never really interacted with, political groups that are Chinese or something like that. Go walk over there, go introduce yourself, go meet them, go say, like, I'm glad we're on the same side. Say, what are your biggest concerns? How can I help you with your concerns? He's like, there needs to be a lot of handshaking. There needs to be a lot of people working together. There needs to be a lot of people overlooking their particular, very specific, narrow interests itself. Or it's just, we are not a country if we don't do that. And you can fight it all you want, but if you guys aren't fighting together, you will not succeed. Together you will succeed. And together you are succeeding. Take heart. You are succeeding. You are doing what you need to do. I keep seeing lots and lots of protests, and people at protests need to go meet. I would even if I were the organizer of a protest, he's telling me, I would make sure that my organization contacted all of the other organizations that are going to do that and really made friends with them. If I had 10 people in my organization, I would ask for 10 people in another organization and just sit in a chair face to face and have individual discussions with each person, so that you can come away with this going, I have a greater sense of the people who are different from me. I have a greater sense, a greater respect for them. They have a greater respect for me, and we are going to work together towards a common goal. He says more than a few marriages will result from this. He's like, more than a few love matches will be made in this way. So again, it has its benefits. You'll have some children who are various races, and won't that be great? We'll all be together in this place where we're looking beyond our silly cultural differences. He's like, believe me, when you get where I am, it's like the cultural differences are so totally irrelevant. It really is just about your life and the things that you did. And he wants you to know that when you get there, it really is, you're going to look at your life from its perspective and say, hey, what did I do? And that could be something as simple as, was I a good father? Was I a good sister? Was I a reasonable person? Did I do my job? All those things are all important. This overarching political situation is just kind of a method for you to learn about yourself. It's a sort of method for you to achieve a higher self, a greater understanding. And that's the most important message that he has. Do your best to cross over and talk to somebody that, you might not think has anything in common with you. There are, people maybe who voted for Bush, and you would look at them and you would say, oh God, I'm not talking to that redneck. He's wearing some overalls and he looks like a coal miner. It's like, you need to get over that. And you need to walk over there and say, look, what about you? How are you getting so screwed over in the society that you would vote for Trump? And when they're responding, instead of saying, yeah, what a dum-dum, listen to what they're saying. There might be 9 things that are totally ridiculous and 1 thing that's actually legitimate and true. And if you gave that person your time and said, I hear you, I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I agree that you should have a better job program. I agree that, the Democrats didn't necessarily do anything for you. And it was an empty party. And we need to get back to the grassroots of how they're going to help you. This doesn't mean I agree with everything that you say, but you have to cross that line. He's saying, look, I did. It's like, do you think President Johnson was a swell guy? Okay. Okay. All right. He's kind of laughing at me because I'll tell you, viewers, President Johnson was my cousin. And so he's laughing at me and he's saying, yeah, do you think it was easy talking to your cousin? He's like, Dave, do you think it's easy talking to members of your family who voted for Trump? But you could find some agreement with them, and you have. So let's just be realistic to them. Part of your journey in your life is to sort of cross over and try to make some inroads with people that you don't 100% agree with. Now, you would do that for a sibling, you would do that for a cousin who you probably don't agree with 100% of the time either. So you need to become brothers and sisters with those people. They are Americans. You do share a planet. You do share a universe. And ultimately, you'll all be together in one place. So let's get going, folks. Let's stop kind of hiding within our little group. He's showing this rainbow of things, of colors. I mean, it's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. He's like, look, the rainbow of colors, you need all of those colors. Without them, there is no spectrum. It's not complete. It's not real. You need all of those colors. You need all those different kinds of people and all those different experiences. You and I can't go through life only experiencing one thing, right? We kind of have our little sphere, right? But we also can't experience everything, right? So you sort of have this sphere that you understand, and somebody's got their sphere that they understand from their personal background and their experience. You don't have the same life, right? So you don't necessarily understand 100% what they're going through. You have to go over there and you have to sort of talk to that person and see, behind every racist is somebody who was badly treated as a child, right? That doesn't mean their actions are okay, but it also doesn't mean that person is, purely evil. They've just taken on a mantle of darkness. Somewhere in there is a scared kid who, if you appeal to them just a little bit, would be extremely grateful. It says, get off your high horses, stop being righteous, and start being in earnest, act in earnest. If you are wrong about something, say that you are sorry. It doesn't mean that you give up everything. It doesn't mean that you agree with your opponent. Don't be uncivil. If they are uncivil, do your best to find some common ground, disengage, do your best. It's like, I understand like how frustrating it is. I was a black man living in the South, constantly treated by, horrible, horrible people. But I still, there were, white people who marched together with me, and I appreciated them, and they appreciated me. So it's not like this is impossible, or you have actually a somewhat of an easier task than I did. And he's also pointing to the youth, saying one thing that's really important that's going on right now is that the youth are watching. They are watching how we interact and behave, and they are watching if you are unable to reach some kind of consensus with a group of people. They're going to see that and they're going to draw some conclusions. If you are civil, they're going to see that and draw conclusions. If you are fair-minded, they're going to see that and draw conclusions. It's not only about us right now. The next generation is going to be very, very important in moving this ball forward. So always understand that you should always conduct yourself as if a teenager is watching you very carefully and you want to set an example for that person. So it might help just to remember that children are impressionable, and we have to just show them the best case scenarios of how people act. That doesn't mean you are a doormat, but it does mean that you don't go to a peaceful protest with a club, right? It says like the future of America is still bright. It said this is not the end. We're just at a point in time where we're being asked to do some things, and but the future is bright. I see a sunset. It's the sun is going to come up again tomorrow, and the next day and the next day and the next day. It's not the end of the world. We will come together after all of this is said and done, and we'll have a good deal to talk about, and we'll have learned a lot. So please, he's just saying, please don't worry too much. We really will make it through. The sun is coming up. It's beautiful. It's a new day after this is all over, and Americans will be much closer than they were before. They'll be going across, ordinary lines to reunite and rejoin. And you guys are kind of becoming people right now. You really are becoming who we are at the moment as we go through this stuff. Is there anything else that we need to know? He's like, nope, I think we're good. He's sending all his love out to you guys. He's sending love out to everyone. He wants to really just support you in his intuitive love and feeling. He wants to send a message to everybody of every color. You can do it. You can survive under very adverse circumstances. And if there's any time that you need me, ask me to help you. Just ask for my love, and I will help you. I will bring it. He's also saying, look, I was an imperfect man. Lots of us are imperfect. You got to move forward, even if you're not perfect. Right? Okay. All right. So thanks very much for watching.